Now, if you was like me, when you think of ADHD, you think ADHD people are hyperactive, they talk a lot, and a lot of times they get in a lot of trouble. That's the only thing I knew about ADHD. And in the past, those are the type of children that we saw. Sometimes they were medicated, and you could really tell, like you could tell what days they were medicated. ADHD is so much more than that. There are 3 types. There's an inattentive type, the hyperactive type, which most people think of when they think of ADHD, and there's the combined type. So the inattentive type is the type where they struggle more with like organization, time management, planning, things like that. Hyperactivity is when they struggle more so with being talkative, moving around, high energy, things like that. The combined type is when they have both. My daughter has ADHD combined type. And baby, there are a few things in my life that have brought me closer to God and growing my journey with him. The stuff that I be sharing with y'all on this channel. In my relationship with my daughter and learning the things that I am learning and have had to learn is one of the biggest things that has pushed me toward God every single day. In this video, I really want to talk to y'all about the reality, the truth about raising a child with ADHD. It can be fun, it can be exciting. My daughter, she was just like such a ball of energy when she was young. She was still like that now. Like, y'all, every time I used to drop her off at daycare, I'm no lie, I'm telling you, the teachers would be so happy to see her. The kids would be like, surprise here, surprise here. Kids would instantly turn up every time I walked into the door with her. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm talking from around 3 to 4 years old up until she stopped going to daycare. The kids loved her. Everybody always loved her. She's so silly, so full of energy, so full of joy. This girl can get down and then like in a few hours the next day bounce all the way back like nothing ever happened. You know, kind of like how dogs and like puppies are, how they're so resilient. That's how she is. She is artistic. She loves making jokes. She cares about people. She loves to make people happy. Even considering all of that, raising a child with ADHD is so hard. It's so hard, y'all. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. It's so hard. People love my daughter. People love her, and I understand why. I really understand why. But nobody raising her though. People not around her all the time. She has a lot of struggles. A lot of these ADHD people do. It has me literally running to God every single day. There have been days, weeks at a time where all I thought about was my daughter, because raising her was just such a struggle. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I knew the mom that I wanted to be, and because of her condition, I just really didn't know how to move around it. And I'm gonna say this first, everybody's different. Like with autism, how they call it a spectrum, it really is a spectrum. Like, because people still have different personalities, they get raised different. There's different things that go into the pot that make them come out different ways. But for the most part, there are lots of symptoms that people with ADHD share. And one of them is sensory. I don't want to call it like sensory issues. It's like sensory sensitivity. One of the things I realized about my daughter, you know the little tag that they sew inside your shirt or inside a pillow? She used to always like need to rub on that. She would turn her shirt and her pillowcases inside out so that she could rub on that when she went to sleep. It might not sound like that big of a deal, right? But she really loves touch. And sometimes it can actually, like as a parent, be very overstimulating because she always wants to touch you. And it was like this cute and stuff when they're little. But you know, she's older now. You know, she's about to be 9. You know, she hit puberty and all that. She'd be like, I'd be like, did you put on deodorant today, ma'am? She come from school straight off that bus, like trying to put her hands on me, and like she's very touchy, you know. She likes to like not just give you a hug, it's almost like she likes to wrap her body around you. Sometimes she likes to put her leg on you, and it's a lot sometimes. That's just really what makes her safe and comfortable, and that's one of those things that I struggle to give her the way she needs, because she needs it a lot. And it used to really be a problem in school. I used to get emails and things like that from the teachers often about how she was being inappropriate. Like she didn't know she was being inappropriate, but it was inappropriate for her to touch kids the way she was touching them. Like she wasn't touching kids in like inappropriate spaces on their bodies, but she was just hugging them and like rubbing on their arms and stuff like that. And that stuff is not allowed like at the school, to like touch on each other like that. So over the years I've really had to teach her boundaries. You can't just walk up and just hug somebody because you want to hug them. Noise, sometimes when things get really loud, and I used to think she was just being extra, but if a TV was loud or the music was loud, you know, everybody else in the room is fine, and she'll be in there like, and things like that. I just had to catch on to, or like learn, okay, she might not actually be being extra and there's something going on. Like the sensory sensitivities is so real. And if you were raised with tough love, it's sometimes a little difficult to have compassion, because you just like want to be like, you will be okay, you know. And sometimes they're really not okay. Another thing that's been tough is motivation. It's like they have a wall built up mentally that they have a hard time breaking down to climb over that wall to do the things that they need to do. It makes so much sense now, but I would say this started when she was young, like around 3 or 4. You know, kids get to that age developmentally where they want to do things themselves. She never got to that point. Like when they get to that age where they like, I got it, I do it, or they take it from you and they want to like button it themselves or tie their shoes themselves. I just was waiting for it, just because I've been around kids a lot growing up, and I just never seen it happen. When I tried to start branching her off to do things herself, you know, when she was in pre-K, making her way into kindergarten, going into kindergarten, getting ready for school was a struggle. She didn't want to wash her face, brush her teeth. There were daily normal activities that I felt like she should have been able to do that she was not doing. And you know, I thought maybe it might change over time, but the struggle just continued to get more intense, because you know, as you age, you have more responsibility. We had a really hard time between the ages of 5 and I would say like 7. It still happens now, but it was the hardest between 5 and 7. She literally did not want to wash. She didn't want to wash her face. She didn't wash her body, take a shower. Like she didn't want to do that stuff. And she wanted to take a bath because she just liked to sit in the bath. I would do so much research all the time trying to figure out like, what is this? Why does my child not want to do this and want to do that? Because it didn't make sense to me, you know, like, why don't you want to wash? Like, you know, some kids have their moments where they're like lazy and don't want to wash. Like, no, she didn't even want to wash her face. And I try to be very open and communicate with my children, like my family in general. So I'd ask her like, why don't you want to wash your face? Like, why don't you want to wash? Like, what's wrong? And her answer was always, because I don't want to. Because I don't want to, because I don't want to. And then later when I, you know, found out she had ADHD and I started learning more about it, yeah, she just really didn't have the motivation to wash. Like, I was doing all this research and people with ADHD were saying that it just felt like so much energy to wash, so they would go days without washing, which kind of leads into another thing. People with ADHD, it's very common for them to be forgetful. It's like their brain only has a number of slots that can remember a certain amount of short-term things, and those slots get filled up very quickly. And so when she wouldn't do something like brush her teeth, or you know, something that you would think would be obvious, right, she would say she forgot. And of course, like as a mom, I'm thinking she's making this stuff up, like not telling me the truth. But people with ADHD forget stuff all the time. They forget stuff all the time, and it's like the most basic stuff that you could think, like, how on earth could you forget that? How? They lose stuff. They lose stuff all the time. All the time. My daughter has lost so many water bottles, so much jewelry. There's certain things that people buy her, I don't even understand why they still buy it, because she's most likely going to lose it. Like, she just lose stuff all the time. ADHD is not just about hyperactivity. It's an actual functioning in the brain that is not built like a neurotypical or normal brained person. The executive functioning part of the brain helps you with planning, organizing, remembering, impulsivity, action planning, like basically everything it takes to start something and then do it and get it done, like all of that. And like you can imagine that affects everything you do in everyday life. The thing is too that my husband has ADHD as well. He is also another reason that I have gotten so close to God. I remember telling him like years ago, around when we first moved out here.
Man, I just feel like I'm living in you and Sarah world. I feel like my life just evolves around y'all.
It was just always something with him, but he didn't know he had it though. He was like, maybe I should go get looked at. After our daughter got diagnosed, and he got diagnosed 2 months after her with the inattentive type. And I felt like I was constantly, the sun is just giving me a hard time. I really felt like I was living in their world, because neurodivergent people just, they have certain things that they do. They have certain quirks, ways that they remember things and way that they go about things. And it's like I had to keep up with both of them to try to figure out how to keep things functioning as smooth as possible. There was not any space for me to consider what I wanted and what I needed, because I had to make sure I kept things in line and did everything that I needed to do, and a lot of times go above and beyond to keep everything together, because they weren't together. I had to show up so much for my daughter because there were so many things developmentally like she wasn't doing. I just felt like she was years behind her actual age, so I had to do more even as she was aging. I couldn't understand why she wasn't doing the simple things that she needed to do, why she kept forgetting things, why she kept losing things, why she was not listening to the clear instructions I was giving her and doing what I told her to do. You know, and it was like a lot of that same stuff with my husband, but a little different, you know, because he was a grown man, which kind of made it worse. Because like, what's going on, my guy? What's going on? It's been so many times where I just felt so crazy and so alone. There were so many days I just broke down crying, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I talk about inner work over here. I talk about building a relationship with God, you know, being happy for real, like real life happy. And so that requires you to do inner work, soul searching, that type of stuff. I'm really serious about that stuff. And so it was causing me to become even more self-aware and dig deeper into myself, because I was trying to be a better person for the Lord, for me, for my family, and I just felt like I wasn't able to show up like I wanted to. I didn't even understand what the heck was going on and how to be this mom I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm working through my own situations, my own past, and trying to show up better for my child. My daughter, just like my son, has been in her own bed since she was born. I was serious about that. I've seen so many women have troubles getting their kid to sleep in their bed when they were ready for them to sleep in their bed, and I was not finna be having that. I wasn't finna be having that, especially because when I had my daughter, I was still finishing college. I was in my super senior year, and I was like, no, like, I'm busy. I have stuff to do. This child needs to be in their bed. So I was really strict about that, just like I'm strict about that now. She's about to be 9 and still asks if she could come sleep with me when it's just me here, or if she could come sleep with my husband and I. Child, I did not like the lighting in my last video, so I'm trying to just give natural lighting in this video, and the sun is just like boop beep. It's doing what it wants, Lord. So I'm sorry, like, if the lighting don't look too good this video. But yeah, it was so bad. Like, it was so bad. Between, I would say, like 3 years old and I want to say 8 still. I would say it just slowed down maybe in like the past 6 to 8 months with her coming to ask to sleep in the bed, but she was coming to ask to sleep in the bed every single night, man, every night. That's a boundary for me, you know, especially when I became a stay-at-home mom 3 years ago. Baby, I want you all day, baby. I want you all day, baby. I want to sleep. I just want to sleep. And so I would feel bad because I'm like, am I denying my child love? Am I denying my child security? Am I denying my child something that she needs? Motherhood is a sacrifice, but I'm a person too. It also takes people with ADHD like some time to get to sleep. Like they have difficulties going to sleep. Now my husband has inattentive ADHD, so that boy can sleep. He don't have no problems going to sleep. He can sleep standing up. But my daughter, her mind is just constantly active. It's like that hyperactivity part. Like I understand why that's all people see because it's such a huge part of it. She be turned up. She be turned up. And she always been like that. Like she wake up on 10, and as the day goes on, the more tired she gets, the more amped up she is. So she'll wake up on 10 and by the end of the day be on 15, 20. And so it takes some time for her to really calm down and really get to sleep. So I had to create a whole night routine that honestly takes about 30 minutes to get her to wind down to get ready for bed. And then even still, she'd get up 5 minutes later and come knocking on the door asking can she come sleep in the bed. It's like sleep is a really big deal. People with ADHD also a lot of times have other conditions like anxiety, ODD, or autism. Like there's so many things that ADHD is coupled with. My daughter had to get screened for anxiety because she would just say the most outrageous things. I thought, like, we'd be driving down the road and you know she looking out the window and talking, because she talks all the time. Like she talks all the time, and she would just say something like, Mommy, what if we ran into that car and we got into a car crash and the car got on fire? And I would really be like sitting there like, what? Why would you ask that? What if Mount Rainier just became active and it exploded? And what if a robber came in here and was like taking all our stuff to like rob us? The craziest stuff out of nowhere. And I'm like, yo, what is this? At first I used to just be like, why are you being so negative? She used to like take the most negative side of a positive thing every time. Eventually she moved from that and started saying, I hope. Okay y'all, come on, we gotta go. We gotta go to the event. I need to stop and get some gas first, so we gotta leave now. We in the car. Mommy, well, okay, I hope we don't run out of gas. we on the way to the store. I hope they have everything we need at the store. It just was like constantly always something. Just like, oh my gosh. The defiance is so real with people with ADHD, and that got something to do with the impulsivity. They don't think. Like one of the worst things that you could say to your ADHD child is, why did you do that? Or what were you thinking? Because most times they don't know why they did that. They don't know. They don't know why they do what they do. They don't know why they say what they say. They just do it and they just say it. It just happens. And then they don't have an answer to give you because they were just doing the first thing that popped up in their head. They have no answers for you, Mom. They have no answers for you, Dad. And that's so frustrating. Because sometimes you really do just want to understand your child. And that's the viewpoint I've been coming in from. I try like to be helpful. I try to understand, but you can't understand if they don't know, if they don't have an answer for you. And sometimes you just want them to give you an answer, but they don't have an answer to give you because they're just doing things without thinking. So now my daughter might say something. Sometimes it's not even anything like safety wise, because safety is insane. Like they do the most unsafe, risky thing because they just do without thinking. But sometimes it's a simple question like, oh, Mommy, is the sky blue? And I'll just look at her like, and she'll say, oh wait, I thought about it, never mind, you don't have to answer that. And I'll just be so thankful every time she say that, because me and her dad been trying to teach her that for so long. If you can't control it, you can say something after the fact to cover what you just said or what you just did. You know what I'm saying? The patience got to be on 10,000 million. with a neurodivergent child. It has to be, because it just seems like it's always something. And things that would be obvious, like social cues. A lot of people with ADHD or like autism struggle with social cues. They don't get it. Like, they don't understand sarcasm. It's just their brains just aren't not wired to understand certain things. And so sometimes it can be frustrating. Like, if we make a joke and she just really doesn't get it, she'll start asking logical, literal questions about the joke. And it's just like, you know what? Never mind. Just never mind. Like, just forget I said anything. The organization is a big deal too. People with ADHD are very messy, very unorganized. It's taking me so long because there's not a lot of information out there from people who know about ADHD, who have actually raised a child with it. You know, it's very textbook type of advice. And so a lot of stuff doesn't work. Like, before my daughter even got diagnosed with ADHD, we were in behavioral therapy for her for like a year and a half or 2. And I was actually trying all the things that the behavioral therapist was telling us to do. There were some things that worked. There were so many things that didn't work. There were some things that did work for a little while and then they stopped working, and then they would just be like, oh, she's just so smart. They always need something new. Like, it always need to be some novelty. They get bored so fast. I used to take my daughter out for a fun day, constantly doing stuff all day. Then we'll get home and she'll ask what else we about to do, where we about to go next. It's like a bottomless pit. It's almost like there's no satisfaction. It's important to understand too that they're still a child, so they're gonna have some of the same struggles. They're gonna have those childlike developmental like struggles that kids do on top of ADHD, which is a whole nother thing. I don't even really like talking about my kids' ADHD, which might be like why I've been taking so long to talk about it on YouTube, because people just really don't get it. They don't get it. They'll be like, oh, all kids do that. If you gave me $1, every time somebody says something like that to me, oh, all kids do that. Oh, she'll just grow out of it. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, I even do that and I'm grown. It was only one person I talked to that I felt like somewhat got it, and that was one of my line sisters. She's a speech pathologist and she works with a lot of kids in the mental developmental type of space, and she got it. But it's like, even still, it's nothing like being around a child like that all the time and trying your best to raise that child all the time. You know, I came from a very tough love, no crying aloud type of background. It is what it is. Obedience, you do what I say, period. And I'm really trying to raise my children from a more Jesus-like perspective, you feel me? And it's just like, so I'm having to strip away a lot of the things that were said to me, how me and my siblings were treated or disciplined. Like, I'm trying to do things differently. And because my daughter can come off like so bullheaded, so hard-headed, and just like insolent, it gets very challenging. She talks back, but I don't think she's doing it to be disrespectful. I think it's because she just got this burning sensation inside of her, like, I gotta say it, like that impulsivity, and it just comes out. And it just, oh my god, somebody could easily assume that you're just complaining, about your child that does the same thing that every other kids do. And the thing is, like, yeah, lots of people do things that people with ADHD do. Kids do things with ADHD kids do, but it's the frequency though. A neurotypical child might have to be told to clean up their room twice in 1 hour. A child with ADHD will have to be told like 20 times because they get distracted. They get distracted by the simplest things, and then they forget. You know, can you imagine doing something, somebody told you to do something, then you go to do it, you start doing it, and then you get distracted by something. And not only did you get distracted, you totally forgot what you were supposed to be doing in the first place. So it's not even like you can realize that you're being distracted and get back to it. What you were supposed to be doing just totally left your head. Like, that's so frustrating. That's so frustrating. And people just don't get it. And I've gotten to a space in my life where I don't allow, definitely don't desire people to get me emotionally charged. So in order to help myself and save myself, I really just choose to talk to my husband, and I just talk to the Lord. There's not many people I could talk to that would be like understanding, because people know my daughter and they see her like she's so smart and she's so sweet and she's loving, and she is and she is and she is, but that don't mean she have struggles. This girl literally just got off punishment. She literally just got off punishment, and 2 people that was, you know, asking about her, I'm like, oh, she on punishment right now. The girl was on punishment for breaking clear rules that she knows she's not supposed to be breaking. Like, you're eating in your room. Like, I don't allow that, period. Like, the adults don't even eat in the room. So it's not like it's a rule that only the kids have. You know, we don't eat in the bedrooms. We don't eat in the bedrooms. Not only was she eating in the bedroom, she was taking extra snacks, like sneaking them. She said she did it because she knew if she asked me for it that I would say no, because she was taking these snacks after she already had her after school snack and before dinner. Of course I'm gonna say no. Like, of course I'm going to say no, you know. She also was taking my candy without permission. Now, I try not to use words like stealing, but that's what she was doing. She was stealing my candy. Stealing my candy. Yes, I have my own candy. I don't eat a lot of candy, so there's only certain kinds that I like, and it's mine. And I buy other people's snacks and candies that they like. You know, that's how we operate around here. And like amongst that, there was several other like rules broken in the middle of that. You know, the fact that you were being sneaky, being distrustful, you know, like all of that other stuff, like this, the morals, baby. So I don't explain stuff like this to people usually, but you know, I will from time to time. And both people were like, if either one of y'all are watching, I love you, but still, one of them was just like, no, who was her accomplice? Talking about my son. I'm like, no, he did not, he was not in on it. He didn't have anything to do with that. She confessed. Like, she confessed. And then the other person was like, well, Gabby, you know you already take forever to eat candy. So that don't give her a right to steal my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, people know her from what they know, and people always make excuses for her behavior. This stuff is not okay. So it's really hard when you have a neurodivergent child, because people just don't understand, they don't get it, and it's really difficult unless you go seek out a community online of people who really get it, because the average people around you are not going to get it, and it will like drive you nuts. So it's not just the actual fact of like raising a child with ADHD, it's also dealing with your own shortcomings that you are trying to process, dealing with your own childhood traumas, like everything you're trying to do personally. And then there's like the people around you, they don't get it and they're not helpful, and so you just end up feeling alone. I definitely have come a long way, and I can only give all the honor and the praise to God. I don't beat my kids. People like really be hinting at me that I should beat her. From a historical perspective, from the outside looking in, like I can see why they would say that, you know. But I can't raise my child like anybody else would do that. Like, she literally has a mental condition that causes her to do the things that she does. She has cried before because she says she's trying to be organized, or like she's not trying to be disrespectful, and she doesn't know why she does the things that she does, like in vulnerable situations, like crying because she feels like she wants to be better and she doesn't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And like me as a mom wanting to do my part to figure out like what can I do, you know, like what can I learn, like Lord, what wisdom can you give me to be more supportive and find something resourceful that can help her, you know. Like people don't understand. People don't understand. It's so hard. And like for me to be married to someone who has it too, stop it. Stop it. It's been so many times where I was just like, God, is this some kind of sick joke? Like I said that to my So my husband, when he was my boyfriend one time, he got so mad, which is understandable. But like, I'm like, yo, like almost everything that an ADHD person is, I'm the exact opposite. And I'm working around 2 people, and like I can't figure out how to make this work. Like but I don't have a choice. Like, even if I didn't end up being with this man and marrying him, this is my kid. Like, I gotta figure this out, you know? So like, I really used to be like, God, why would you pick me for this? I'm so unqualified. Not underqualified, I'm unqualified. I should have been about like one of the last picks of the litter to have to figure out how to go about this. But as the time goes by more and more every day, I understand why God chose me, and I'm willing and dedicated to continue to do what I have to do to be the mom both of my children need. I get it now. I can't say I ever would have gotten to this point. I just know I wouldn't have if I wouldn't have fully surrendered to God and really chose to live my life for him, because I really can't figure this out on my own. Like, I can't do this on my own. Even a lot of the books and things out there, like I've said, I can't relate. Like, they're written by people who haven't raised a child but who only work with these children. They're from people who are just different than me, you know? Like, the way I was raised, you know, for them to say like, just step back and take a deep breath. Oh, you don't know how I was raised, big dog. Like, that type of advice is not finna help me. You know, a lot of times ADHD goes undiagnosed, especially among black people. You just get put in this category, and it's a lot easier for people to get put in that category when you're black. And I'm not even talking about just by the doctors. You know, like, I've over the years tried to tell people the struggles and share the struggles that I was having with my daughter, and nobody thought it was concerning. Nobody thought the level of frequency that she was doing things and how slow it was for her to develop into doing certain things that she should have been doing at her age was concerning. People just thought I needed to put my foot down more, or thought I was being extra. People thought it was a result of me trying to be too strict or me trying to be too controlling. Nobody took a step back to really think, like, what if this child really is struggling but me? Her dad, for the longest time, he didn't see it. And like, this is before I became a stay-at-home mom. It's a very lonely journey, and I'm very intentional about everything that I do. Sometimes I get really frustrated. I get frustrated because, like, yo, let me tell you, the other day, this girl asked for an apple after dinner. I'm like, you just had a big full dinner. Why, you don't need no extra food. But I was just like, go ahead, get a small one though, because we get the rocket apples. So the apple's like right here. I'm sitting right here at the table. I turn around like this. This girl grabbing one of the biggest apples out the thing. I said, I just said to get a small one. This girl says, but I have room to eat a bigger one. I said, put it back then. Put it back. Then she, no. I'm like, I don't understand. I just told you can have a small one. Why did you pick up that big one? Like, she really thought that was okay. Like, people with ADHD, their thoughts run so fast. They think they be so ahead of you all the time, and they just got all the answers. And like, it was really more logical to her to pick a big one because she had space for a bigger apple after her mother just told her to get a small one. Like, that's just, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. This is the reality of raising a child with ADHD. It can be fun. It can be exciting, spontaneous. They have a huge imagination. They come up with lots of ideas. They like to go. If you want a run buddy, a play buddy, you got you one, because they be turned up. Especially if you got one with hyperactivity. They be on go all the time, period. But it's rough though. It's difficult. It's very challenging. And one thing I also didn't mention that is really a huge struggle is the emotions. She used to break down. I mean, break down. In kindergarten, she cried in class almost every single day. Don't ask me what that was, because For stuff like she was writing and her lead broke, erasing and ripped a hole in her page. We're walking, going for a walk, and she dropped a goldfish on the ground. I mean, like the smallest things. Like she was like heartbroken. And it's like, it's one thing to be, you know, sensitive for a child in their time of need, but when you have to put out fires like that multiple times a day, every single day, it really gets exhausting. Like that's when you just want to be like, you will be okay. Like you're fine. You're fine. Like, I don't like doing that. Like I don't like telling people how they feel, including my kids. Like if my child is feeling hysterical, I don't like to tell them you're okay, because they're not, you know. But these are all things I had to learn over the course of the years. So I plan on doing an ADHD series. The videos are going to be much shorter than this, breaking down things that I've learned, tactics that help, that could help your child, that could help you, because you need help just as much as your child do. This is a huge part of my life. This is a huge part of my life. Like this is one of the big pillars in my life that has made me run to God. Loving people with a patient, kind heart who have ADHD amongst the frustration and the struggle. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for the lighting and all the chaos, but I just really wanted to give y'all the real. And if I made this too structured, I would have been stiff and I wouldn't have gave it to you like it needed to be gave. You feel me? But that's it for this one. I love y'all so much, and peace and love. Take care of yourself. I'm out.